Welcome to Blind Level Tech. I'm Jonathan Price.
I'm Evan Starnes.
And together, we're bringing you news, tech, and information about blind technologies.
Being blind doesn't mean you have to stop living.
We're going to show you just how possible it is to live the life you want.
Well, Evan, it's nice to be back here. It feels like it's been a few minutes since we've recorded with each other.
It really does, honestly. It's been, at least
weeks.
in my perception, my flawed perception of time, it feels like months. But, we've had that very flawed perception.
We've had some pretty killer episodes with Edan and Tom Babinski. So it's been funny because, so for those of you who don't know, Tom, go back and listen to that episode because him and me and Evan have been really talking about how to get museums involved. And so we've been trying to reach out to the Denver Museum of Nature and Science and several other museums around the Denver metro area and trying to get their accessibility and all that stuff get really off the ground and rolling and try to do reviews and shows from there. And so he's been spearheading a lot of these things and it's been fantastic. And so we've just created this really fun relationship with him. And then last week we had on Edan Mir from Hearsay. No,
that was from Right Here.
That's right here. Thank you. Sorry, there's too many companies with either Site or Right Here or C or all this kind of stuff. I'm getting super confused. Anyway, Edan was awesome. So Edan, if you were listening to this episode, I apologize. I'm really sorry. Okay, so I've had a really busy week, and I use that term specifically because there were a lot of things outside of my control that I just did not anticipate happening. And so it became a busy week, and I don't like busy weeks. I like full weeks. Did anything exciting happen for you?
Well, a couple of things. And yes, I wholeheartedly agree. It's been, not pandemonium exactly, but a lot. And I understand your comparison of a busy week versus a full week because I am the same way. I want a week where I have a lot of stuff to do, but not where a lot of stuff just comes up out of nowhere.
I know. Yeah.
Couple of things though. Firstly, I have ordered, and it should be here as of this recording, as of the time we're recording this, by this Friday, I've ordered an air fryer with smarts in it. It's got Wi-Fi.
Oh, nice.
And it's a Kusari Pro 3, so it's a double blaze. So it's actually got, besides the traditional coil on the top, it actually has one underneath, so you don't have to take out the basket, shake back and forth every few minutes.
Oh, nice.
And so, we're definitely going to have to do an episode on it because it is incredible. Their app has always been quite good, a little flaky at times, but honestly, compared to a lot of other smart appliances, really, really accessible.
Nice.
So I'm super happy with that. Secondly, for those who, if you use Siri a lot, or if you just have difficulty like navigating to a podcast and following it, Jonathan actually told me this. I can't believe I didn't figure this out. You can use Siri to follow a podcast, and it's awesome. So let's say you're not following BLT. If you're not, shame. No, just kidding.
Shame.
But you can,
shame.
Yeah. Forget it. Full on shame. But you can ask Siri, hey, apologies for any HomePods triggered, but you can say, hey, Siri, follow Blind Level Tech on Apple Podcasts, and she will do it. Yep. And I also want to say, too, with our new with our rebranding, it's made it a lot easier to find our programming using voice assistants now. So I've had a lot more success, and I haven't had to be as wordy.
I know, and not to mention our show, but you can also follow any of our shows or your other favorite shows. I don't know why you would have any other favorite shows, but it's awesome that you guys follow us on Spotify and Apple and all the other streaming devices and platforms. And if you would like to give us a call or you would like to have your questions answered, we have a few questions in the queue, so we're going to get to those. But if you want to add your questions, give us a phone call, 720-712-8856, or send us an email. We just got a couple of emails in today at feedback@aftersight.org. So, Evan, I have to ask you, what's the most interesting thing you've put in your air fryer?
Well, I haven't put anything in it yet because it hasn't gotten.
Oh, that's right. Sorry. That's right.
No. But I actually did have an air fryer. Okay, that's the thing. I had an air fryer toaster oven when I was back in Littleton at the CCB, and it was fantastic. It was a basic one. It had it was all controlled by analog knobs, which I really liked at the time. And actually, to be completely honest, this was such a spontaneous thing. I'm gravitating with, or kind of bouncing back and forth between two different things that I put in there that turned out really good.
Okay.
The first one was I'd had some stale, like they weren't stale, but they weren't good. Homemade tortilla chips in my refrigerator. And I'm like, man, nice. I don't want to throw these out because they're not like, you could still eat them.
Oh yeah. You can crisp those puppies up.
Oh, yeah, and that's exactly what I did. So you just threw them in the air fryer for 2 minutes, and my goodness, were those good. And the other thing, and this is super random, but at Costco you can buy these boxes of Belgium waffles.
Oh, yeah.
Is it Costco or King Super? I think it's Costco. Sorry about that. But they're quite good on their own. But throw them in an air fryer for about 2-3 minutes, and they come out even lighter and airier than before somehow.
Yep. Yeah, it's awesome. So I do have to ask, have you ever thrown apples in the air fryer?
That's going to be one of the first things I try when it comes here.
Because
no, I have not.
Well, so I have to say that because we're going to be talking about all of these Apple accessibility features for iOS 17. And for those of you who don't like Apple, you may want to throw your Apple device into the air fryer. But fear not, we are going to show you some wonderful things in accessibility that may change your mind when it comes to using Apple versus Google or Android. And so we're going to dive into some accessibility features. So right off the top, Evan, what's probably one of the most interesting features that has come out with iOS 17 for Apple? Hold on. I want to make a really quick distinction here. We're only talking about Apple iOS, not Apple Watch, and not the
not Mac OS or iPad OS or any of that. Yeah, iOS, iPhones specifically. Yep. Well, I'd say the most interesting and honestly game-changing feature, and it's kind of been around for a while, but it's really gotten some massive overhauls here in this update, has to actually be the Magnifier app.
Yeah.
The Magnifier app has been around for a while. Like I well before this show has been in production, and for a while you could use it for the two main features that especially if you're blind, low vision, that you could really benefit from were door detection and people detection.
Yeah,
and it was cool because it would make a different tone based on if it detected a person or a door, and it would, even if it was a door, tell you how to open that door, where the handle was, how far it was from you, and it did pretty well. But they've added a lot of OCR or optical character recognition features into this into the Magnifier app with iOS 17. And the biggest one that I've personally been using a lot is Point and Speak. And Point and Speak is quite interesting. It essentially uses your phone's LiDAR sensor and camera array on the back to detect where your finger is in relation to a piece of text. And you can essentially drag your finger up and down to read line by line and kind of explore around the text that way. Or let's say you're trying to find something really small, like the serial number on a computer or whatever, and you want to just figure out where it is on the sticker. You can point at it and it will read it to you. And it actually does a really good job of picking up little pieces of text, whether it be like a brand name on an appliance or maybe a little screen on like a microwave or a washing machine. It's done from my testing, a really solid job at that.
Yeah.
And it also has the ability now to oh goodness, I just lost my train of thought. To describe images, and that actually that came out in 16, but it seems to have just really gotten a lot better.
Yeah, it's definitely gotten better. It's definitely more robust. It utilizes all three of those cameras to, I guess, give you better descriptions, and they've updated a lot of their database to add some more detailed descriptions. But yeah.
Indeed. Now, notice I did say that I did mention LiDAR and the 3-camera array. Yeah, the one little caveat with this feature is that the point and speak and text detection is only available on Pro model iPhones.
Yeah.
From the 12 Pro all the way to the 15 Pro and 15 Pro Max.
Yeah.
So if you don't have one of those, sorry, you can't use this feature. However, there are plenty of other apps such as Seeing AI and Envision that will allow you to accomplish pretty much the same thing. The advantage with this, though, is it is built in and can be activated anywhere with a simple gesture in VoiceOver.
Yep. And VoiceOver has really come a long way, especially working natively with apps that you can download from the Apple Store. And their VoiceOver integration is just it's not even comparable to now. It's pretty. Now,
TalkBack
pretty
is
special.
getting there, but VoiceOver, in my opinion, with their direct touch API and even now, and this isn't a solution exactly, but it is a great workaround. Even their screen recognition, which came out a couple of years ago.
Yep.
But it's been a game changer. And in iOS 17, it has had some more improvements. A couple of things first, though. They did fix a couple of little pesky bugs, particularly with VoiceOver focus jumping. Now, I had to deal with this a lot. I'd be scrolling through an app, and then it would just randomly jump my focus to the top of the screen or somewhere in a list. And it made it really – it felt a little clunky to get around.
Right.
And then you think you're on something, but if you're me, you don't always listen to what you're on because you just memorize everything. And then you end up clicking the wrong thing. It's bloody frustrating.
Yeah.
So I'm glad to see those bugs. Personally, I've experienced those bugs have been fixed. And they have also improved the taptics, and the taptics are the little vibrations you feel when using VoiceOver when you're navigating around. If you're swiping between items, if you double tap, if a page loads, if you swipe between pages, even if you lock your screen now, they've added a haptic for that. So yeah, they've oh my goodness, they've overhauled the VoiceOver haptics now, and I've pretty much actually disabled a lot of the sounds that VoiceOver plays.
Really?
And I found it I found it more relaxing to use with just the speech and the little taps that I feel. It's less the main sound I turned off actually was the click that I hear when I navigate between items.
Yeah.
Because I found it to be very loud and sharp, and when when taptics became available, that was probably one of the first sounds I turned off.
Yeah.
And also the screen lock sound. I don't particularly like that sound. It's not the little that you hear when you lock your phone. It makes this little it almost sounds like a train whistle, it's a really annoying. If you get silent notifications, your phone would just be making that noise all the time. But now you can disable it and just feel a nice little gentle when the phone locks. And the haptics they feel a lot less clunky and more fluid. And that's been kind of an overall improvement I've noticed with iOS 17, especially considering the new ringtones and alert sounds that they've added with their respective haptics. Oh my goodness. Not everybody is a fan of them. I personally love them. If you have iOS 17 and haven't listened to those yet, go and play around with them. You'd be surprised. They're pretty cool. The last thing I want to tackle with VoiceOver specifically, though, is a feature that when iOS 17 was in its public beta phase, it kind of messed some people up. But they've fixed it since then, and I've tried it. It's called Sound Curtain. And Sound Curtain is a pretty cool little feature that essentially will mute all of VoiceOver's audio, period, if you have a Braille display connected. Yeah. And that's super cool because I used to be, when I wanted to connect my Braille display and I wanted my phone to be completely silent while I was using my Braille display, I'd have to go in go into the rotor and turn off my sound feedback, and then 3-finger double tap to turn off speech feedback. But with Sound Curtain, all you've got to do is you can set it up to a gesture. Mine is 4-finger double tap. And then you can turn it on and off, and it'll say respectively Sound Curtain on or Sound Curtain off. If a Braille display isn't connected and it says Sound Curtain on, it's not going to turn on until it connects. So don't worry about that.
Real quick, I want to pause real fast because you mentioned something that I don't want to gloss over. You talked about setting your own kind of shortcuts, if you will. Can you briefly talk about that? Because I don't think a lot of people know that you can set your own shortcuts.
Yes, and this has actually been an addition as of a couple of years ago. You can go into your VoiceOver settings under accessibility, and then kind of near the bottom, there's a little section called, I think it's called Commands.
Yep.
And it's called Commands. So once you go in there, you can set both your touch and your keyboard commands. So if you're a keyboard user, you can also do this. Take advantage of this feature. But the cool thing is, let's say you're not a fan of a particular VoiceOver gesture and you want to do something different. Let's take, for example, the back gesture to go, back a menu, back a screen, which by default is called a 2-finger scrub, and it's really weird. So you kind of swipe your fingers right and left in like a fluid motion to invoke this gesture. It's hit or miss if getting it to work for me. Yep. But I have had an unused 4-finger single tap gesture that I was able to assign to that command, if that makes sense.
Okay. Nice.
So now all I have to do is just tap the screen once with 4 fingers and it'll take me back. And you can do that with pretty much anything. You could even change what swiping and double tapping does if you wanted. So there is a lot you can customize. And then if you have a keyboard, like I have an iPad with a keyboard case, you can set up separate commands to if you don't like the web navigation commands. Oh man, they're incredible.
We could do an entire show on just key commands and keystrokes because I use them all day long.
Like it'll change a 2-minute task into maybe a 30-second task. To put it simply.
Okay, sorry for derailing us. Keep going.
Not at all. But those are pretty much the main improvements, particularly with VoiceOver. Next up here, though, this does kind of this will tie into VoiceOver, but next up is the ability to adjust per voice settings. Now, this is huge. If you're like me and you love your text-to-speech voices and you customize them to your liking, this is a great feature for you. Yeah. So this will allow you to adjust anything from the inflection. So if you want somebody to talk like a robot or really expressively, depending on the voice, of course. It doesn't work with all of the voices. So it won't work with your vocalizer voices like Tom or Samantha, but it will work with the voices like Alex or Eloquence or Fred. It works with those voices.
It'll be funny when you get to the day when your a significant other steals your phone and then records all these phrases and then makes them your voiceover. Like, hey, you got a text message from.
Well, that's funny you mention that. Well, it is funny you mention that, and we'll definitely get to that in a second because that's a great segue. Now, in order to adjust your per voice setting, it's a little weird, and I really want to explain this because it was hard for me to find. But for VoiceOver, if you want to adjust your VoiceOver voice particularly, what you want to do is navigate to your VoiceOver settings, tap on speech, and then select voice, and then you'll be able to find the voice that you have selected, and then you swipe down, and it'll say open per voice settings. double tap, and you'll be brought into a menu where, depending on the voice, you can adjust anything from the minimum or maximum rate at which it reads, to the inflection, to at least in the case of eloquence, you can adjust things like the head size, which is really weird, or the roughness, so you can make it sound very, like, almost, in my opinion, creepy, but cool. So yeah, you can really tailor these voices. Now, this has been around on the Mac since Mac and Talk, and since VoiceOver's been a thing. So I'm glad to see they've added it to iOS. Now, you touched on personalized voices, and so we're going to kind of go away from VoiceOver now, and I'd really like to talk about the new personal voice and live speech feature that they've released. Now, this is primarily geared towards individuals who aren't normally, aren't able to speak or enunciate. And typically, for those individuals, you'd be given like an app. Goodness, I can't remember the names, or a device called a talker, which has pre-programmed phrases on it. And Apple being Apple, they decided, why not implement this into the iPhone? So live speech is essentially a feature where you can type text and then hit enter, and it'll speak it. And this also works on phone calls, which is really cool. So if you're unable to, utilize if you can't speak or what have you on a phone call, this is a great feature. Plus, it's great if you have, if you're a Braille display user, because you can just type your text and then hit enter on your Braille display, or even a Bluetooth keyboard, and it works seamlessly. And by default, it will be using the good old Samantha Compact voice. But you can go in and change it to any of the text to speech voices that Apple has to offer on the iPhone, or you can use the personal voice feature, which I think I've touched on it briefly when it first came out in a previous BLT episode.
We kind of had an argument between if it was going to be a good thing, because there could be some I guess like scam type things you could
exploits, I guess.
Yes, exploits. That's a good word for it. Yeah, for sure.
But this is unfortunately, you can't use your personal voice yet with VoiceOver. You can use it though with other apps. I have an app, a weather app that I use called Carrot, that whenever you open it, it'll tell you something really snarky or whatever. And it's funny because
if it's wet outside, it's raining.
Yeah, exactly. You can actually customize it. Awesome. But it was funny for a while. I actually, and I changed this because I was getting a little self-conscious, but whenever I'd open my weather app, I'd have a version of myself with a really bad cold telling myself insults or something silly like that.
That's a new way for negative self-talk, I guess.
It's special.
But only you, Evan, could insult yourself with yourself.
Oh, yeah, you got that right. But to take advantage of this personal voice feature, and I just say, even if you're not going to use it, if you like to play around with tech, give this a try, because it's fun, and it does. Yeah. But it does take a minute to set up. What you do is go into your settings, navigate to accessibility, and then under the speech heading, you'll see live speech and personal voice as two separate options. When you tap personal voice, I think you're going to have some stuff to agree to, and it'll walk you through this a couple of little, like, not a setup process, but a couple of little key instructions. And it'll give you the option to create your first voice. And once you've selected that, what you can do is give your voice a name. So I called mine Evan with a cold, because I had a cold when I recorded this. And then what it's going to do is it's going to give you 150 different sentences to record. And This totally works with VoiceOver. So it'll give you the sentence, you navigate over to the record button, double tap, and then recite that sentence in whatever voice you feel comfortable doing it in. Mm-hmm. Speaking of voices, talking, I don't know if that talking clock came through there, but yeah. But it took me probably about a little over a half hour to record them all.
Oh, wow. That's a lot longer than I've heard. It's usually about 15 minutes, but yeah, I mean, if you can go for a long time. I think you can.
There's no option to skip a sentence exactly. You can kind of go like you can actually skip back and forth through all of the sentences, but you need to have all 150 of them recorded to enable for your phone to create your personal voice. So once you've recorded these 150 sentences, there is a create voice option and when you select that, you're going to need to have your phone charging in order for this to work, because it takes a lot of processing power on that phone. Because basically, essentially, in technological terms, what it's doing is it's taking all of those samples and taking what's called a phoneme. And a phoneme is essentially like, I wonder if you can explain it better than I can, but it's essentially
it's a compilation and it's a thinking through of all the phrases that you've used and picking the words from those phrases and compiling them into a different sentence. It's very similar to what I do when I edit podcasts. So I can take basically, Evan, I could take your entire podcast and make you give the preamble to the Constitution if I wanted to. But that's basically it. It's just a rearranging of the words that you've already recorded.
And that's essentially what this feature does. Yeah. And when your voice is created, unfortunately, you are going to have to, if you're a VoiceOver user or if you have other accessibility shortcuts set up with a 3-finger side button or 3-finger home button, or triple click home button, excuse me. But you are going to have to enable personal or live speech as an accessibility shortcut. So that was something I kind of had to get used to. But once you have added it as an accessibility shortcut, you can triple click your side button. And then if you're using VoiceOver or any other accessibility feature, you'll get a little pop-up asking you which item you want to select. When you select live speech, this little keyboard overlay is going to pop up. And be mindful of this because it doesn't go away if you go into other apps. It's always there in the background. And so if you navigate toward the bottom of your screen, you are going to see a little keyboard and a text box and a close button. And you can literally, it's a single line text box, meaning you can type text into it. And when you push enter, it speaks it. And you can also set up your own customized phrases too. So if you say something particularly a lot, you just have it assigned to a single button that you push. Very similar to a talker. But it's a cool feature, and I definitely recommend people, if you want to, give it a try. The quality of the voices isn't the greatest. It makes me sound totally raspy and very computerized and monotone. But keep in mind, this is a voice based off of 150 different samples, and your typical text to speech voice that sound your high quality human sounding text to speech voice. Those are based off of sometimes, I think, thousands of samples, and they take days of studio recording to create those. So
they do. They do. Well, I know we're coming to the end. So I think we have one or two more. What else do we got, Evan?
Yeah, we've got one more thing, and it is also speech related, and I'm sure people are going to love this feature. But now, as of iOS 17, it is possible for you to adjust the rate at which Siri speaks to you. And this is a huge feature. It actually first kind of appeared with the I don't want to wake up anybody's smart speakers, with the Amazon range of smart speakers. You could tell your smart speaker to speak faster or speak slower. And they've added that to Siri now. Unfortunately, you cannot ask Siri to speak faster or slower.
Right.
But you can make her speak significantly faster or slower. I have her talking at a really fast rate. So if anybody ever uses my phone, they might not really be able to understand my Siri. But
oh, dude, it's ridiculous. It's so ridiculous.
We did an episode on text to speech and it actually put this into perspective how fast our text to speeches can go. But in order to adjust the Siri's speaking rate, pardon my grammar here, go to your settings and then go to accessibility and then navigate close to the bottom. You'll find Siri. And when you tap that, there'll be quite a few different little options you can customize. You could actually customize if you want Siri to always speak or only speak if your silent switch is off or your silence is off if you have a 15 Pro. Yeah. But there is a slider that will allow you to customize the speech rate, and it's as customizable as VoiceOver. So anywhere from 30 words per minute, well, probably a little faster than that, to well over 500.
Yeah. Yeah, I can only hear I don't remember what I was trying to turn it up, and I think I got to 3 or 3.5 maybe. It was like a third of what the normal talking speed is, or I mean above a third. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense.
3 times what I can normally talk. That's probably the best way to describe it. And
3 times your typical speaking rate.
Yeah. So I was like, oh, I'm okay with that. And then I hear Evans. I was like, what has happened?
Yeah.
It was so confusing. Well, Evan, I hold on, Evan. It's time for dinner, man. The sandwich of the week. Well, okay. So I was talking to a friend a couple of days ago, and he was telling me about I asked him what he and his girlfriend did for Valentine's Day. And he said, oh, we went to Red Robin. And my first instinct was, oh, Red Robin, how romantic. And he was like, no, it was actually really fun. That's where she wanted to go. We went bowling. We did the whole thing. It was kind of like a recapturing our first date type thing. So that was really sweet. And so I was like, oh, Red Robin's an awesome place because they have my favorite burger. And he goes, oh, what's that? I said, oh, it's the Whiskey River barbecue burger and chicken burger. And it's got the mushrooms and onions and Whiskey River barbecue sauce, and it's just so good. You could throw on some jalapenos on there. I like mine pretty spicy. And he's like, dude, that's the exact sandwich I got. And it was kind of funny. And so, yeah, that was my sandwich. The Whiskey River barbecue chicken sandwich. Super good. Evan,
love the name too.
Oh,
I've been trying to eat a lot healthier since I've moved in. I've been trying to eat a lot less out of a box. My sandwich is a chicken salad sandwich, which, in my opinion, chicken and salad go together great. But in a sandwich, I thought I was kind of half expecting a jumble of lettuce and stuff to go falling out. But it was perfect. Chicken breasts, lettuce, tomato, whatever condiment you like, cheese, and it's really healthy, high in protein, and a lot of the vitamins you get from whatever lettuce you pick, kale, arugula is really good.
Arugula, yes,
romaine. But yeah, that is my sandwich of the week.
I love it, man. It's been a fun time talking with you about some of these iOS 17 updates and features. And yeah, I'm so thankful for everybody listening out there, because without you guys, this show would not be possible. And we do have some amazing things coming up. The first one is it's running all year. And so our code is changing. So be on the lookout for that. But if you want to give a shout out to somebody, we have Easter coming up. We have St. Patrick's Day coming up. We have Mother's Day coming in a couple months, and Father's Day, grads, all that kind of stuff. If you would like to give a shout out to any of those people, please reach out to us. You can reach us at, aftersight.org/shoutout. And you can fill out the form there. And once we give you that promo code, you'll be able to get 50% off of that shout out. And we'll read that on whatever show you want and send it out to whatever
person, whoever like.
The second one is we are launching a sports podcast. Now, I cannot say what the name is because we're still working on the name. We've got a working one, and we have the intro created and done. It's amazing. It's awesome. But we are actually needing your help. So here's where you guys can come in. We are looking for a host, or a co-host rather, to come in and volunteer and be a co-host for this new sports podcast. And there are a couple of things that we are needing from this person. One, they must be able to have good on-air presence. And we also need them to, we would prefer them to have a visual impairment or either be blind or low vision and be participating in sports. And it's going to be such a fun time. So if you would like to participate or want more information, fill out that email. Just send me an email, feedback@aftersight.org, and I will get you all the things that you need. So that'll be really, really fun. And we hope we get a lot of additions. Doesn't matter who you are, what age you are. It doesn't matter. We're just here to have fun and talk about sports. That sports podcast will be launching at the end of May. And so we're very excited. So we're starting this process now. So if you know of anybody who is really high energy, who likes a lot of sports, send them my way and we'll get that audition process rolling. So, Evan, any final thoughts from you?
No, I will say I have noticed with iOS 17, and I did say this in a past episode, definitely some significant battery life improvements as well. So just some other non-accessibility related improvements that they've made. The haptics, of course, have been more pronounced, and I've really enjoyed using it. So definitely if you don't have it and if you have hardware that supports it, I'd strongly encourage individuals out there to go and grab that update.
Yeah, for sure. Well, with that being said, Evan, it's been a fantastic week. And on behalf of the entire AfterSight family and Evan Starnes, my name is Jonathan Price.
Don't forget to plug in your devices.